I'm just using this moment more or less as a public awareness type of item. Everybody knows that since last year and since last year's slave auction vote, that we have been doing things with a firm that we hired, that council approved, to come into the city and host meetings and so on and so forth, with dialogue about Charles and William Street. And to my knowledge, in the last week or so, there's been a buzz going around that something would be submitted, or organization would, ask for a possible reconsideration. Some of those words are being used out in the public, and I'm saying the way I'm saying it tonight is because I'm not going to speak for any organization or any group or any particular person that wants to do anything. That's not my job. My job is just to say that there's a buzz out there about maybe this coming back to council in the future. So I'm just doing my due diligence to share that with the public. We did receive letters tonight, and I didn't read the letter here. We got it upstairs at the work session. But long story short, I just want the public to be aware that through the dialogue and with all the mixed emotions and so on and so forth, that it's still out there. I guess some folks, I can't say I guess, but some folks are still concerned. And that's pretty much what the coalition is doing. They're hosting meetings for folks that don't know, and it's been public. It's been public notice the whole time, and they've been doing that pretty much, I would say, almost all year. They've been doing that, hosting meetings. You can call it a forum, whatever you want, but folks have been coming in and having discussions, held at the Walker Grant Center and other locations as well. And I think there was just something done at the college on Monday. I didn't make it, but so the conversation is out there. And I'm just saying publicly that, there's some folks that, want in the future the council maybe to look at this again. So without going too far in depth with this, the coalition is doing reports on what they're receiving at these meetings from the citizens. And in their reports will show what folks are saying. So if you want to read the reports, so on and so forth, the information is out there. It's on our website. I'm pretty sure it's on there right now as we speak as well. So this is going on, and if folks want to get involved, show up and talk about it. And the 5-minute, scenario here is open for everybody in the public. So like I said, not to speak for any organization or any group, it's not what I'm going to do, but simply put to the public, there's a buzz out there about reconsideration. And if somebody has any issues about the way I presented it tonight, I suggest you hit that 5-minute button and explain it to the public. So thank you, Mayor Greenlaw.
Thank you, Council Frye. Council Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to kind of piggyback on what Councilman Frye said in putting this kind of in perspective now that we've kind of reached that point where we're moving to the next level of this discussion. I said at the very beginning when we started down this road that if there was any community that could have a rigorous and civil discussion about an issue that is rather controversial, especially in the nation today in general, this Fredericksburg community could do that. And I want to say how proud I am to be a member of this community where we have and continue to have a very rigorous and civil discussion on a very difficult issue. And while we may have some difference of opinion on how we achieve where we're going, how should the monument or the slave auction block be presented, we're all on the same page as to what the goal is. And the goal is to present this part of our history in a better light with more information. And for me, this is really an issue of making sure future generations understands that as human beings, we are capable of great compassion and good and also great evil and depravity. That's in our nation, in our nature, regardless of our ethnicity, what country we're from, anything. We are that way. And our histories tells that story, and it's important that we understand all aspects of it. But more importantly, as we move this discussion forward, and I think our ultimate goal in this discussion is to make sure that future generations understand what has happened, how far we've come, and frankly, what their obligation is in the future to make sure things like this, slavery, and what happened to a section of our community in the past never happens again. You know, for me, this has got to be an action step for them. It's not enough to recognize it. It's not enough to understand it. It means we need, as individuals, to take a stand and take an action to make sure something like this never happens again. And I hope ultimately when we finish this discussion, that's where we will be as a community. And again, I do want to say how proud I am to be a member of this community where we have been able to have that kind of discussion without all the angst and finger pointing and name calling that has occurred elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kelly. I've attended a number of the forums, as have other members of the council, and I want to thank every citizen of the that has come out, who have come out, and the discussions have been wonderful. They have been fruitful. They have been honest and truthful and sincere. I, too, am proud of the community. We had 154 people at the forum last night. I don't know how many are there tonight. Yeah, that's the number I was given, Kathy. but at any rate, it was a lot of people. Kathy Jett's been there, too, faithfully, and reporting well in the newspaper. But Matt is right. While people may differ on how the artifact should be, or even where it should be, there is absolute consensus on let's tell the story, let's do a good job of telling the story. And as Matt said, let's make sure that future generations not only understand, but build on it in a positive way. Councilor Frye.
Thank you, Mayor Green. I want to add one more thing. To the citizens of Fredericksburg, it's real, I don't know the words, but I would say heartwarming to see a lot of the elderly folks who've been here all their life, and in a sense, they felt like they didn't have a voice or an outlet, due to times and how things were in the city. And, by going through this process, you see a lot of folks who never said anything because it was normal. And for me, it's just amazing. I've went through my life story here on council a few times, but just to sit in the living room in Mayfield with my grandmother at her house when I was a kid, and just to hear how folks couldn't vote, they couldn't speak on certain issues and all of that stuff, and just to see folks now, kind of come out of that shell, I think is helpful. The block is there. That doesn't mean it brings those folks relief, but the fact that they can openly say some things, and be heard, that's a big deal. So it's kind of like, folks made segregation and civil rights, all of that. It's folks here that are valuable to the community that went through all of those phases, even that made it possible for me to sit here. So to watch those folks now able to speak openly and say, hey, it's not cool to me. Even if it gets it off their chest, I think it lifts a burden for them. So I'm happy. I'm happy for them, and I'm happy as a city that we've been having a dialogue that has, we're having this conversation. So any out of towners that want to come to Fredericksburg and point fingers, you're too late, because we're taking care of our business here in Fredericksburg. So thank you, Mayor Greenland.
This is true, and just for our listening public. We are wrapping up phase 2 with the forum tonight. There is a report that was done. There will be a report of this phase, which is what should be told here and how. And then there are additional meetings coming up. And do you have the dates, Mr. Baruti?
No, ma'am. We don't have the dates yet to publish. We should have that by the end of the week, but we will have a series of 2 meetings in October, 2 meetings in November, and 2 meetings in December, times and dates to come.
All right, so there's 6 more opportunities. But the point is that we're collecting all of this information and collecting wonderful stories that need to be told. And so the process is ongoing.